guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. You might notice right away that we have a legit audio setup at this point. I don't know if it's going to help with things.
Well, we've been having some issues with echo in here, and I've got acoustic panels like you can see behind me, but they're not, I don't know, it's still just super echoey. I don't want to...
There's only 1, 2, 3, 4. This room's pretty good size.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would help to have like if the...
Probably need them on like the ceiling and the floor and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sound
Anyway,
bouncing.
we'll try mics. We'll try these mics. We got the backups though. The old
Yeah.
lapels as backups, so we'll see what happens.
It feels weird though.
Yeah.
It feels weird to have something in front of my face. And before we get into the questions from last week's videos, I did want to announce the 10 winners from the Color Blends giveaway. So week before last, we posted a video sharing my 2022 fall bulb order. We've got some gorgeous stuff coming. I'm so excited. We've been partnering with Color Blends for the last like 4 years or 5 years or something like that, quite a while. We get the bulk of our bulbs through them, and usually they host a very generous giveaway. So thank you to Color Blends for that. So 10 of you won 100 bulbs. Before I announced the winners, there was a lot of scam activity. There always is surrounding giveaways. So unless you see, because typically how we do it is we do a random comment selector, so it's completely at random, and we reply to your comment, but you'll see a check mark next to our name. That means we're a verified, YouTube account. But there's a lot of very convincing looking accounts that look like ours.
Not really. When you look at them, there's like... It'll say text me at some, well, at a glance, it just has your picture. That's like the only thing about it that looks like it's official. Otherwise, everything else about it is obviously a scam. I get kind of mad about it. I'm just so mad at the scammers. And I'm also mad at the people that fall for it too, because it's like, this is like a diatribe. Those are the people that like are perpetuating the scammers. Because if they didn't have anybody to scam, if it didn't work, somehow, they would quit doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like mad that people are falling for something so obvious. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I get that there are new people to the internet all the time that just aren't accustomed to how the internet works.
Innocent.
Yeah, they're innocent. And honestly, like, probably be better if I was a little more innocent. I'm a little like jaded after seeing,
so long.
Yeah, all the scam activity.
Anyway, back to the positives. Yeah. Here are the 10 winners. Cindy Swain, Yesenia Ortiz, Elevation 2860, Elda Ramirez, Bernadette Rivera, Karen Miller, Nancy Mimency, Anna Miguel, Janet Rockner, and Irma Chavez. Let's jump into the videos from last week. First one was harvesting flowers and making a flower drying rack. So we had some statice that was ready. First time ever growing statice from seed all the way to harvest, which was so exciting. And I know statice is a super common flower, but...
Is it common though? Because
I think it's fallen out of vogue.
I've never heard of it.
I think it's fallen out of vogue. Like it was very popular, and it was popular as a dried accent, and such. But yeah, I think it has fallen out of vogue. But I think it will. I think it's going to pick back up. I think everything.
To me, pansy is a common flower, or petunia.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
But to me, statice is like a more obscure to me.
And it's been adding so much sparkle to my flower arrangements, and I've just been enjoying it so much. And I grew one tray of it, and it looked very bad when I planted it out in the cut flower garden. It took a while for it to kind of root in and go for it. And I gave some plants to my mom, and she's got some back behind their potting shed, but it's just performed beautifully, and I've ordered lots of different varieties for next year. I just like those things. Like I kind of want to plant a row of it just to leave. Because it's pretty,
How long does it bloom?
Well, it'll just dry like that right on the plant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's the kind of thing you want to plant.
Yeah.
That you don't feel like you have to deadhead, that doesn't like lose its color.
Right.
But anyway, we harvested the statice that was ready, and then we went out onto the new property and went into that brushy area. I kind of showed you back in the back 40 of that property what it looks like. Discovered we have a walnut tree and an apricot tree back there. But I gathered some branches and put together a little, it's like kind of a ladder shape, drying rack that we hung from the ceiling in the cut flower shed so that we could hang bundles of the statice to dry. It was a really fun project. Fun at Disney said, I guess I missed the video about their new property. When did that happen? I shared that information at the beginning of the garden tour this spring. What was that, like April or
was it the
March?
Beginning or the end?
I think
it was the beginning of part 2 of a garden tour.
Yeah. And we didn't venture off into the property. There's not a lot to see in it yet. It's just a field, except for that back area that has all the brush and trees and willows growing because it's running right next to a irrigation ditch back there. So we sealed the deal on that one.
It took a long time. It took like over 6 months.
Yeah. Because
we had to 9 months.
We had to redraw the line. We did kind of a property swap so that we weren't, because the original line was going right through our neighbor's yard, like their grass lawn. So we moved the line further into the property there, and then they gave us a piece out front to match the line of our other property up there. So it worked out beautifully, but it does take time, to get it through all the proper channels.
Whenever you
and
have to
all of
have
that.
the county come and measure things and
right.
So
anyway, I think we actually finished that deal. It was March, April-ish, maybe. They started letting us use that area to, add to a pile out there. We have a couple piles, one of wood chips, one of soil, and kind of a brush pile.
I dump my grass out there too.
Yeah, we've been using it longer than we've actually owned it, but we own it now. We did put a fence up on one side of it just so that it's nice, because then
Marks
we know
the boundary.
we know where to plant trees and things, because we will start planting trees along the borders and things. So anyway, Mary said, do you have ticks? We do it in our area. I have never had one on me though from the garden. I mean, I don't have brushy areas like that, though. I think I mentioned that to you. I'm like, we need to check ourselves for ticks, but we've never had one on the cats, and they go all over out there. So, and I'm pretty regular about checking them for things. So,
you and I don't go out into the brush, like, ever, really. Like, we've gone hiking a couple times in our lives.
Well, I used to go all the time.
Yeah. But since
Garden Answer started, we've kind of focused on, our garden. We haven't been out into the wilderness all that much, which is something that I want to change. But they are in our area. Connor said, love the idea and execution. How long does it typically take these flowers to completely dry? They are completely dry at this point. It's so hot and dry out there right now that those are dry.
Like a day?
Yeah. Probably maybe a little longer than one day. I still have a bunch in tubs and containers in our root cellar that are as fresh as can be. I just put a little bit of water at the bottom, because I put them in there to condition, soak up a little water before I actually hung them to dry. And then my mom and I made wreaths in here. And then I still have a bunch left. I think I'm just going to take big bunches of them down to church on Sunday and just give them away.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
They have a produce stand for, whatever leftovers you have. And last week I took those big bins of green beans. Down there, and they all went, which is kind of nice. Brian and Tammy said, I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I've never heard of Status.
Oh, there you go.
After this video, I ordered a bunch of seeds. A wreath would be awesome. Can't wait to see that happen soon, which I think it happened maybe right after your question went out. Did you direct sow the Status? I did not. I started them in 72 count cells, or one tray with a 72 count insert. Does that make sense? I had 72 plants altogether. And then, like I said, I gave some to my mom. So not all of them went out into the garden, but most of them did. Give It a Go Garden said, fun. What other flowers in your garden are you hoping to dry? Well, this year, not a whole lot. I really wish I would have been more diligent about cutting lavender, because we had a really good lavender year, because I'd love to have bundles of lavender hanging in there. But I do want to do more straw flowers and things like that. I'll be amping up our dried flower area, hopefully, next year. Carol said, why do you keep the doors open to the hutches? Don't things get dusty inside, causing more work? I don't think you could keep dust out if you tried, especially in that cut flower shed. The windows aren't like, house windows, I guess.
Right.
They're just kind of, they don't even have proper hardware on them yet. Right now, they're being held shut they've got the little hinges inside, but they have a clamp on the outside of the shed.
There's no like weather stripping on them.
No, right? Yeah. I was really particular. I wanted wood windows, and I wanted the panes to be like inset. Like I wanted all of the wood
wooden,
like
what's that called?
Cross pieces, that you can see in the window. I wanted them to be outside of the glass. I don't prefer windows that have the grid, but they're inside the glass. Like it just doesn't have the old look to me. We had one of those in our last house. We had some inset grids on one of our exterior doors, I think. I never really liked that very much. Or like the interior, our balcony door upstairs has one of those the
like blinds on the inside.
And it doesn't work. Like once it doesn't work, I don't know how you get them to work properly.
Well, I think there's screws on one side. You could probably take the screws off.
Yeah.
And
right now we just have it like closed all the time.
Neither of us are very handy.
I feel like I used to be when I used to be able to dedicate more time to things, and now just things fall into disrepair.
Right.
Just kind of stay that way. Monkey Grab Orange said, "Am I the only one to notice she's putting the toggle on the bolt backwards?" I know. I think you corrected that, right? I think I asked you to put a little...
I put some text on the screen.
Yeah, I flipped him the other way. When I was demonstrating, though, I don't know where my brain was.
I noticed you did that when we were at True Value buying them, too. Uh-huh. And I was kind of like, well, I know you know how to use them, but I saw you putting them on backwards.
Yeah, so got that fixed. They're in the ceiling properly. That is so frustrating, though, when I watch it back. And I'm like, if somebody watched this...
Yeah, as a tutorial.
For a demonstration on how to use a toggle bolt...
Good thing the video wasn't titled How to Use a Toggle
Bolt.
Yeah,
that's true. Next video is planting 3 varieties of sedum, tough, low-maintenance, heat-loving plants. So kind of a good time of year to shop for sedum, really. I know down at the garden center they've got a lot of really pretty varieties because they look really good this time of year. So I planted an upright one back in black. I planted a new one for next year called Bright Idea, and then one called Boogie Woogie, which I've showed you before. It's a little bit of an old... not super old, but maybe like a couple years, and it's a really tight ground cover. Anyway, we went out into the south garden and planted some of those, and they look really pretty. Anita said, "Another wonderful, inspiring video. Thank you. I have autumn joy sedum and grow to about 20 inches tall, but by the time they bloom, they flop over instead of staying in a beautiful round mounded shape. Any ideas what's causing that and how to prevent it?" So that happens a lot. I think some people trim their sedum early in the season.
Oh.
Who was doing that? Was it Aaron? The Impatient Gardener. Did you do that? Do you cut your sedum back? I can't remember who I saw doing that early enough to where they still have time to form new buds and bloom. It's kind of like mums and asters if you pinch them back. Now, I don't do that with mine. Typically, mine flop if they're getting too much water, if they get fertilizer somehow, or if they're not getting enough sun. Those are 3 things that you can fix very easily to keep your sedum upright. You could also put a frame around them, if push comes to shove. But typically, mine stay up if they're not being overloved, I guess. Nita said, "I was wondering why you don't use Vitex or chase trees in your garden." I actually have one sitting out in our pile, but we don't typically sell them, and I'm wondering if it's a zone thing. Let me look. Hold on. So I have one called Blue Diddly, which it says a zone 5 through 9. Let me look at what it likes for soil. Oh, commonly known as the chase tree, Vitex was in ancient times thought to be an aphrodisiac.
Nature's most powerful aphrodisiac. Look it up.
The stems and leaves were once used in ladies' bedding to cool the heat of lust when the men were off to war. I did not know that. We're not sure if this works or not. This is off the Proven Winners website. We're not sure if this works or not, but we do know that it makes a wonderful landscape plant that is highly deer and drought resistant. I'm wondering because we don't sell these down at the garden center, I wonder if they want more acidic soil, and I cannot find that anywhere on here. Usually it says what kind of soil they can handle. I don't know. Well, I'm going to plant mine, and we'll see what happens. Next question, a most satisfying view of the planting today. The colors really pop when it's a bit cloudy. Yes. Oh, we try to really milk the cloudy days. We don't get very many of those. You were wearing a gorgeous wedding ring, as you sometimes do. Have you ever lost a ring over the years working in your garden? I have not lost a ring, but I do wear fake rings a lot because of the nature of my work. Plus, I like to change it up. Mm-hmm. I like to have something different on. I've never been like a super sentimental person about my wedding ring or jewelry that way. So I still have my wedding ring, and it's very pretty. And we actually were just talking about it. Aaron's like, "You need to sell that and invest it in the S&P 500. That would do us a lot better than having it sitting somewhere." But I don't know. Maybe Samantha will be more sentimental than me, and she will want to see it one day.
Yeah.
Well,
or the next thing I mentioned is maybe Benjamin will want it to give to his fiance.
Which would be wonderful.
Yeah.
So we'll hang on to it for a while longer. Yeah. But yeah, I wear fake ones all the time. Gloria said, "I've noticed in the past few videos you haven't used land and sea compost. Just curious as to why that is." Well, sedum for sure. Sedum is a wonderful thing to plant because I don't have to carry anything extra with me, just the plants and the means to dig holes to plant them. They don't like any kind of extra amending or fertilizer. And I don't know. I just kind of sometimes I forget about it.
Yeah, you've used a lot of land and sea off camera. Like you did a lot this spring in the flower garden.
Oh, yeah.
You showed some of it. Uh-huh. We've also been using a lot of compost.
We top dress as a mulch with compost.
So there's already compost in the area in the south garden, and you haven't been doing a lot of planting aside from the south garden because nothing else is ready. We're waiting on infrastructure for everything else around the house. So my guess is next year, planting around the house, we'll probably use a lot more land and sea.
I cannot wait. Like, let me just say, I cannot wait to be back in the beds around the house. I just, we've just been waiting for so long. And I could be working on other areas around the house, but I don't know. I feel like I want things to be kind of put together so I can see things as a whole.
Well, you're like a one thing at a time kind of girl.
Yeah.
And I think we probably, if you wanted to, we probably could have had the formal garden ready to be planting by now. But that thing, boxwood hedge is in the way.
I know. I'm still holding down on that boxwood hedge.
There's no way to incorporate it.
You just need to see it one more time at Christmas. Winter.
You know what? No lights on the boxwood hedge. Protest.
I've never really liked them on the boxwood hedge.
Oh, well, perfect. Anyway. We'll be set.
Yes. Janelle said, is your end goal to fill some section of the south garden to where there's no walking space once matured? Yes. If so, how would you groom anything without stepping on plants? Carefully. We'll have some strategic areas, like some strategic stones placed. I noticed that the previous owners, our friends who had this house before, they placed like little round stepping stones every once in a while. Like you didn't see them, but they were every once in a while in the thicker beds so that you'd have somewhere to stand to do your work. And I think that's so smart. Now we are planning I've got a couple of different areas in my mind that I want to make little walkways to a gazebo. I've got one area that we want to put a gazebo. And then we've got the
small gazebo.
Yeah. Not like the gazebo, the massive one that's downtown now. Like intimate settings in there.
Small, but still expensive. I've seen the prices on some of the ones that you like.
I'm just sending you ideas. I'm not sending you anything firm.
Told you had your mom looking through her sources for gazebos, and I was like, Susan, just organize it, just sort it, expensive to least expensive. Guaranteed. Without even looking at the price. Laura will want the most expensive one.
Pessimistic outlook on things,
It's
Erin.
just how it is.
Yes, but things turn out pretty.
That's true.
There will be rock pathways, so we're working on our rock pathway in the first section, I guess, over there. So that will be like a walkway through that area, and we'll have benches and things placed in there. And then there's another area kind of in the interior loop. I think having like a little secret space in the center, once we have it more thickly planted, will be really fun to have, like a little room in there. We were just talking yesterday about how we finally feel like there's enough stuff out there, enough plants, where we can start putting some hardscape things like benches and light posts and things like that, because before it just seems too perched. Like you need to have something to nest them into so it doesn't seem like it's, screaming at you. Kelly said, what about creeping thyme in front of the stone instead of more sedum there? I think that would be a great idea. Maybe we will do that. I love creeping thyme. It's so pretty. Like the elfin thyme is so cute. It's such a pretty mat because it's a little bit more clean looking. It's not as fuzzy. And it's a very dense mat. And then it gets these tiny little pink flowers, like little fairyland flowers. It's so cute. Kelsey said, can you build a foot wash station? Probably should do that.
You need one. I've seen your shoes.
Yes, well, yes. I should have a foot wash station somewhere. That would be a very handy thing to have. Next video was making status wreaths with my mom. It was so fun. I called her after we harvested all the status, and I just said, would you be game? Like, I'll try to set you up as comfortably as possible. We can do it somewhere where it's air conditioned and all of that. And she was like, yes, anything. And then she's been calling me. Do you have any other things we could set up? Like, what kind of projects are you working on? So we'll probably have a couple more where we do some crafty things together, and we'll bring you along for that. It's always fun anyway. A little bit of a change of pace, and I like having a reason to be in here on occasion. Through the summer, it's too hot outside. Nicole said, what do you do when you get towards the end of the wreath? Where do the stems go? And I'm sorry, I did not show that. I've done so many wreath videos, I kind of forget about all the steps and, So what you do in the very end is you've got your bundle, and there's not very much space, so you have to be pretty careful with it. I usually cut the tails a little bit shorter, and then you kind of have to lift that first bundle that you attach to your form up and slide that new bundle under, and then you have to be very just careful weaving that wire around, and you can still do that. Usually I end up with a kind of a openness in that area, and that's where my wreath hanger goes typically. Or if you like to use bows, that's where a bow can go, or you can individually wire in bundles after. But what you do after you get that last bundle, you cut your wire with a pretty good sized tail, and then you keep wrapping that around the back side of the wreath. Like you find areas where you can tuck it into the wreath form again and again and again until it feels really tight. And then you can assess the wreath in the end and decide where you need to wire in individual bundles or hot glue stuff in. Tammy said, love the video in this channel. Question, how do you get dust off dried flowers that you keep inside the house? You can use like canned air. Just blow it off.
Could that be too strong?
It might be too strong.
Can you just
start over with new fresh flowers the next year, possibly? Or dried flowers, like you get
throw it
fresh
away?
ones.
Just throw it away.
Well, we're so dusty here. Like, we don't keep stuff around for too awful long.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get a few years out of it, maybe.
Is there like a leaf shine type of a thing you could spray on them or would that?
I think that would add a shine that maybe you wouldn't want.
Yeah.
I think using like canned air at because you don't have to put a shit down full bore.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably work for most things, I would think. I don't know. Like a vacuum with a soft brush on the end. That's like a soft brush attachment.
Yeah, feather
Possibly.
duster.
I don't know. Karen said, are your wheat wreaths still usable? You know what? I don't know if I even saved the wheat wreaths from last time. Wheat is grown in such abundance here, we can usually go out and gather it really easily. So, I mean, you can store them, and I have stored them, and they do store from year to year. If you've got somewhere you can hang them where they're not going to get brushed up against or wrecked, because they're dry and they're pretty brittle. But so you have to have it stored somewhere where nobody's going to be touching it. It will last from year to year. But I'd have to go look. We do have a lot of wreaths hanging up in the loft. I just can't remember which ones we have in there. I should go.
You need to organize them.
I know. I should. I thought about like printing a picture out of each one and like taping it to the bag.
Oh, yeah.
It's
a lot of effort.
I know. I have all of these lofty organizational ideas, and my follow through is not so great. Heather said, bit off topic, but I just love your eyeliner. Would you share the brand and color you use? So I use black eyeliner. I've tried to like lighten the amount of eyeliner I use, and it just makes me look tired and sick. It's the weirdest thing. Like people do makeup tutorials every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, that looks so pretty. And then I'll try it on myself. You guys would be like, oh, you're looking tired today. Are you sick? No, I just didn't put eyeliner on, Anyway, I usually use the CoverGirl Ink It. You just pick it up at the grocery store. It stays on really well. I mean, occasionally on days where it's 110 degrees, I'll sweat some of it off a little bit, and so it'll look lighter by the end, but it's easy to remove too. I can just do one of these like that, and one of these on my pants, and it's like, it doesn't smudge around really easily, so it's nice. Anyway, I just use that in the color black. I've also used the brand, is it Wunder 2? It's WUNDER, and that works really well, but you have to sharpen it with pencil sharpener, and it would break constantly, and it would like break down into the pencil, and I'd have to sharpen it way down. It was a total pain. It worked really well though. Gina said, inquiring minds want to know, was it thunder and did it rain? Love watching you and your mom do projects together. It was thunder. How weird that it was coming like at the exact like time to frequency. It sounded like somebody had sheet metal and like they were shaking it, but like every 30 seconds.
Wow.
Shaking it. So it sounded too rhythmic for it to be a storm. And when I left that day and I was in the truck on the way home, we had a severe storm warning come through on the radio, and it said 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. It's going to go through Ontario at 4:50, and it was 4:20 at the time, 4:19. I remember I called you, and Benjamin was right there, so I didn't tell you about the storm warning and what could possibly be coming, because Benjamin is honed in on the weather. I think maybe he's picked up on maybe my stress with weather, which is not good. I don't want to impart any of that kind of weirdness onto him, but I get stressed about hail and wind.
Well, he has the weather app on his iPad.
He does. He watches storms and tornadoes and stuff, and he knows we don't get those things, but he has been through an earthquake. But that was so weird for us that everybody talked about it. He was 1.5 or 2, maybe 2.
Oh, the earthquake?
Yeah, he still talks about it. He remembers the chandelier shaking.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't tell you on the phone. I just...
He's very pragmatic about weather events. Like when he sees a video of some type of tragedy, and I'm like, that's really sad for those people, huh? And he goes, yeah, it happens. Kind of like, nothing I can do about it.
Right. Which is, I guess, healthy
True,
way to look
guess.
at it. Yeah. So I got home, and then I told you and Benjamin in a kind of more tender, like, I didn't act stressed or anxious about it. But then he was watching. He's like, when is it going to happen? In 10 minutes and 9 minutes? And it broke up before it made it here. Thank you, Jesus, that it broke up, because quarter-size hail, I don't know what that would do to the Hartley. It would wreck most of what we've got going on in terms of plants. And I think in Wallowa, Oregon, and I don't know how far away that is from us.
2.5 hours, 3 hours.
They got baseball size hail.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Like it ripped off sides of buildings. I saw pictures of like.
I saw a video of an F-150 that was just obliterated.
Really?
Well, I mean, like it broke all the windows, and then there were just huge dents in the sides of the vehicle.
It's just it's the worst. I mean, Anyway, so yeah, it was a storm that never arrived. We did get a really pretty lightning and thunderstorm that night, like hours later, and no wind. Lightning and thunder in the distance, heavy downpour of rain. But not like so heavy that it was like a gully washer and made it flood. It was just like an irrigating rain. It was
nice.
It was nice.
It was, I turned off the drips and stuff.
Yeah. Shelley said, why would you kill the spiders? They are part of nature. I have lots of nature around. When you have a spider running at you, like running at my mom who can't get up out of her chair quick, you know? Yeah. I don't know that I could do an eye roll big enough.
Really?
To match like how I feel when I read questions like that. So I'm just going to move on.
I put spiders and spider mites and
I don't put those
ants.
in the same category at all.
Really?
I don't go out of my way outside to kill spiders at all, ever.
If I see a spider inside, I'll kill it without.
I'll kill it inside. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah, so maybe
I won't
they're not
pick it up
exactly
and put it outside.
Yeah.
We have plenty outside, but I don't kill them outside.
I think what it is like if there's any arachnid or like what are insects inside, I won't hesitate to kill it. Outside, let them do what they want.
take care of we try to take care of spider mites because they'll decimate your entire landscape, food production and everything. Aphids.
Kill them dead.
What are they? Budworms, the white fuzzy. Mealybugs.
Mealybugs.
Yeah, those kinds of
Grubs.
things. Earwigs.
Yeah.
Out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all those things. I mean, are spiders beneficial?
Oh, yes.
Are they?
Oh, big time. They take care of a lot of those insect pests themselves. Yeah. That's why I don't kill them outside.
Killing one inside the house is not going to make even a dent in like the population.
Well, then people will argue, if everybody thought that way.
If everybody killed one spider a week in their house. Well, and like, I used to crawl through crawl spaces, and sometimes if they were really bad, you could tell people you need to bomb it. Like you need to kill all the spider presence.
I'm not crawling down there.
Yeah, and so like in a situation like that, you're killing a lot of spiders. But like, so maybe that's the thing. All the people who are like, don't kill the spiders, maybe you get to crawl in crawl spaces where it's...
Yeah, how would that make you feel?
Yeah, ridden with spiders.
We know how to handle you. Okay, next video was planting 2 evergreens and flower seedlings. So the most beautiful evergreens. I was so excited about them, and they sat out in front of our greenhouse for probably 3 weeks, maybe. I picked them up because we really need to focus. We've got a lot of big stuff out there. It's not big now, but it will be big. And now we need to really focus on some mid-level stuff, some very small ornamental trees, some large shrubs, smaller evergreens for winter interest. I've got a good spot for some Arctic fire dogwoods out there. But I planted a spruce and a pine, both which stay fairly small. Like the spruce grows 2 feet by 10 feet wide. So that's more of a ground cover type. And then the pine grows 6 feet tall, 12 feet wide. That's going to be a cool one. I'm excited to see that one grow. And then I had some flower seedlings, zinnias, cosmos, and marigolds that I started in the greenhouse that I needed to get planted out. They could have been planted earlier, but it was so hot out. I just waited till it came down 10 degrees. Amy said, really unique pines, fun to have different plants, not usual ones everybody else has. Do garden centers special order things like that if you ask? What time of year would you need to order? I think that any garden center is happy to try. It kind of depends on who their suppliers are. The best time to ask, any time is a fine time to ask. It just, depending on the time of year, you may not get it for a while. So as soon as they know, they can start keeping their eyes open for them. I know my mom's already done she did rose orders for next year, like this early spring. You have to have them in. So that's been done for a long time. She can always add special orders on. So anyway, a lot of times you may not get it till the next season, but sometimes they can get it in right away, depending on what time of year it is. I noticed that you didn't water either of the evergreens in after planting them. Was that intentional, or did you just not include that in the video? I didn't make it in the video. I went and watered them after. I thought I filmed that. It's possible I filmed it and didn't make the edit cut. That happens too sometimes. We just don't include the steps of everything every single time when we're doing like a montage shot. We do it so often that, yeah. Leota said, I'm curious what kind of mulch is in all your beds. Like with the Japanese evergreen, what kind of mulch is this in your ground? Is it mulch or just your dirt? So dirt underneath, of course. And then the top layer, well, out there was wood chips. And then on top of that, there's a few layers of compost. So we've just been buying it bulk from Ontario Rock and Landscape, which is our kind of local rock yard. They have mulches and rocks, and they're who we ordered. They ordered in the beautiful snap stone that we used inside the Hartley. We're using the same kind of stone, but in larger flagstone pieces out where the old brick patio was. Also, the walkway that we're building is kind of the same stone as well. Anyway, they carry big bulk amounts, and we just have them drop it off by the truckload. At this point, we're hoping
Lots of truckloads.
Yeah, we're hoping that by adding that we're just gonna continually enrich our soil and create a super healthy environment out there for plants, so that we don't have to amend things so heavily all the time. And then maybe at some point we'll be creating our own compost.
I think that we're always going to need to amend. I think that's just going to be what it is.
'Cause our
but
water's
I
so
think
high
the only
pH.
way that we'll be successful is to continue to amend.
Just be consistent.
Yeah, I
with
think you
all
just
of
have.
that.
I don't think there's ever really a time where you're like, oh, we can let up now. I think it's just kind of going to be a constant battle.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think it's a battle we can win.
Sue Judith said, love that you keep it real and show your mishaps and keep the sunny attitude of yours. Question. Oh, because I broke the water line right in the middle. Yeah. Do I still need to regularly fertilize my plants, even if I started them off with Biotone and proven slow release pellets? So when I plant something with Biotone, like that first year, we don't fertilize it again that year. Usually it just gets that starter fertilizer. That's what it needs. And usually land and sea compost if I'm, remembering to use it. And then the only thing that gets consistent fertilizer, like on a weekly basis, are the annuals out there. In fact, Paul did that today. I saw him out there. He keeps everything on a very tight schedule out there. Devin said, not related to your project, but how long does the battery last in your electric gator? For quite a long time, like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we use them constantly.
It says it's like marketed as all day life. So like if you were running it all the time, you'd probably have to charge it every day.
Sure.
But for us, it's not, you drive
not
out.
constant,
Yeah, you
right.
drive out there, you do a project, it's sitting out there for an hour or two, and then you drive back. And so, I mean, we drive around with it a lot, but it will last for a couple weeks for us.
Yeah, it's amazing. They've been just like, we've talked about like, maybe we could use a third one out there.
Well, the more people we keep adding on,
Yeah.
to help with things, because Paul has one all the time, and then you have one if you're out there working on something.
Yeah.
And then if I decide that I want to like spread amendments on the,
Or you'll have
lawn.
camera gear, like on the golf cart that
Yeah,
has
or
a
I'll move
cover,
camera
so
gear
it's
around.
shaded.
The golf cart is really nice for moving people around, but it's not a great work vehicle.
No, it's been so nice. So you can go
Yeah.
faster in it, and it's shaded. So that's the one we prefer to use with the kids in the evenings. We get them on the golf cart rather, and we just drive around, and you're kind of protected.
Kind of wish we would have gotten the 6-seater instead of the 4.
It just looked like a zoo vehicle. It
I
just
know.
looked so silly, and I just
But whenever people are over, because like we fill up a 4-seater. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to start putting kids on laps
yeah.
if anybody else comes over.
Right.
So.
Chris R. Fan said, I'm loving the no music approach because of Facebook. However, I wonder would it hurt to drop Facebook altogether and just have YouTube? We've thought about it.
There's a lot of people on Facebook.
There are a lot of
There's
people.
a lot of people that still use it.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
We're always talking about all kinds of different things. I mean, I don't mind the no music either. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have it, but sometimes it's nice to hear what it actually sounds like when you're out gardening.
I think we'll just go back and forth. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not going to.
Facebook may fix whatever's going on
Yeah.
too. So
we're not
going to
go crazy one direction or the other. There's still
Yeah.
going to be music.
Yeah.
And we just won't post those on Facebook. Like I think the status wreath video went up that had music in it. I just didn't post it on Facebook.
We'll just post a link to YouTube for those.
Yeah. We've been posting more on TikTok lately too.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. And I'll post stuff on there that doesn't, like, I'll get a video done that doesn't maybe go out for several days. So it's little sneak peeks of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So Kendra said, how are you able to remain organic and have your grass look like that? Espoma products and Bonide's Dead Weed Brew.
No.
Dead
Lawn weed brew.
Lawn Weed Brew.
Dead
Jeez.
weed brew will kill your lawn.
Yeah, gosh dang it. I need to.
They almost need to change the name because they're a little bit too
Yeah,
similar.
they are.
And I think that could cause confusion. But
Yeah.
yeah, all the Espoma stuff is organic. The
Yep.
the lawn fertilizer that we use. And then I put amendments on there that are all organic. Like I'll put iron tone on there to keep it green, and I'll put soil acidifier because we have such high alkaline.
Gypsum.
I'll put gypsum because we have compacted soil, especially the areas in the South Garden where we drive on.
Yeah.
We need to keep, and then
softening
I'll aerate. There's a ton that you can do to your lawn that's organic.
You've been putting compost in that little sifter.
Oh yeah, the sifter.
And if there's like low areas, it'll sift just the tiniest bit of compost into your grass, and you can see it, but it goes away super fast, and it just breaks down and works into your soil.
Yeah.
So especially like when you very first go off the driveway into that first grass path that leads you out to the cut flower garden, it's kind of a drop, like it drops you down. And so I think you've been working on just gradually, eventually we'll work that soil soil level up.
You keep just putting like a half an inch or an inch.
And the grass kind of adapts and everything
compost,
kind of moves.
It just grows up through it.
Harvesting a bunch of produce was the next video, and in that one I actually was going to do some garden maintenance too, but it just got so hot and the beans took me forever. In fact, I had a movie on my phone. I was just like moving the phone in the shady areas because beans, I need a machine to do that. I don't love to pick beans. It just takes too long. Anyway, though, I harvested bolted onions, kind of talked about the difference between a bolted onion and one that hasn't bolted, and when to know when to harvest your onions. I had all the beans to harvest. A bunch of peppers were ready, a couple cucumbers, and then a few berries. Adrian said, I'm envious of the size of those onions. I've always had problems growing big ones. Think I'm dealing with compacted soil. Any recommendations? Yes, add in compost for sure. Alliums, onions, and garlic are super heavy feeders. So, I say that. We amend at planting. I don't fertilize again our onion crop. They get that.
Probably should, though.
They're big, though. They're big. They don't need it. I don't want to add extra fertilizer just to add fertilizer. I feel like, though, if you properly amend your soil in the beginning, they get land and seed compost and they get Biotone starter fertilizer. And I feel like that just sets them up for such a good season. And Walla Wallas and candies, which is what I was harvesting, size up bigger naturally. So they're just a larger onion. They are a higher sugar content onion. So our valley produces 1 billion pounds of onions, right?
Oh.
Isn't that what that big...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. It's a huge onion producing area here. We've got the climate for it, so that also helps. But they don't grow that type of onion, the type I'm growing. They grow types that are really good, have a really good shelf life, which are typically a little bit smaller onions. So anyway, higher sugar content onions typically don't store as long. I showed in that video what mine from last year looked like. I have 10 left at the bottom of a basket. They have big, long green growth shoots. Most of them are pretty firm still, so I'll just cut that growth shoot out of the center, and we still use the onions, which I won't have to now. Those onions can, I don't know, work through them.
Yeah.
Or they can just go out and be added into the ground out there because we picked so many of them. But anyway, yeah, feeding your onions is a good idea. And then maybe just a varietal choice. Is that the right way to say that? Variety choice. Roseanne said, have you thought of a freeze dryer? I think some people would be interested in the subject. I have thought about a freeze dryer. I don't have any experience with freeze dried. So I thought, remember last year I thought about it. So I ordered a bunch of freeze dried fruit just to see what it was like. And it was the worst thing I have put in my mouth in a long time. Ugh. It was so gross. Remember? I think I just tossed them all.
Yeah.
Oh. Something was wrong with those. There's so many people who freeze dry. My mom has a friend who freeze dries everything. Like freeze dries lasagna kind of a thing and does all of those. It gets really intense with it. I should talk with her. Yeah. Gail, I'm coming at you. If you're watching this. AC said, could you cut the onion stalks so they don't send their energy to making seed? I don't, possibly. I don't know if that would help a tremendous amount once your onions kind of changed gears and started to push that flower stalk. Maybe it would help direct a little bit of energy back into the bulb and help it size up a little bit more. I've never tried it. I don't know if it would open up a water avenue to go right down into that onion bulb. That's what I would worry about because it is hollow.
But around here, we don't get a ton of rain.
So it may not be a big deal, but that one night we got a whole bunch of rain.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. Patricia said, do you grow red onions? I don't. I have before. I buy 2 red onions a year. We don't cook with red onions very often at all. KW said, how do you have no bugs, no spiders, no aphids, nothing on any plants? I know you trade organically, but you must have someone doing it constantly. I could walk outside and not go very far and show you something that's probably covered in bugs. I was noticing today all the Lady Godiva yellow calendulas in the maze garden are covered in aphids.
Aren't they kind of an attractant?
Yeah, and sometimes when you plant Nicotiana, calendula, what was the other one? Maybe it's just Brussels sprouts. Plant those 3 things, and you will have all your aphids on those plants, and they won't bother anything else. Plant a blue Hubbard squash, and you'll have all your squash bugs go to that one squash plant because they're attracted to it rather than all your other ones. That's what happened last year. So last year's big pumpkin patch that we had, I didn't really struggle with squash bugs until the very end. And it was, I think, because in the end of our fall gold raspberry patch, I didn't have enough raspberries to fill it up. So I popped a blue Hubbard squash plant in there and thought, well, just use the space to grow a squash plant. That's great. And it got so covered in squash bugs, and they never, they didn't migrate over until the very end of the season. They didn't wreck any of my plants. And then a lot of you guys said that blue Hubbards are a host plant for squash bugs.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's smart. So maybe if you had a huge pumpkin patch and you just strategically planted a blue Hubbard every once in a while,
right,
and just kind of sacrifice that plant, then you could forego doing a bunch of spraying.
Who was that guy that your dad was talking to that they release beneficial
from a drone?
They fly over your property and drop for spider mites.
Yeah, he was talking about,
because they were using them in all the hops fields around here.
Hops are spider mite attractors big time.
Yeah, so with a drone, they drop beneficials that just eat all the mites, spider mites, but don't mess with the hops.
Yeah. And he said that he could hook us up with
we need to look into that. That'd be super cool.
I think that would be a really fun video to put together for you guys. Let us know if you think.
It's such a great way to combat the issue too, because there are organic options,
but you have to be
on it constantly. You do. And if you can do beneficials, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it really would. Charla said, I love canning and preserving, but I'm just at the beginning of this journey. Would you ever consider doing canning videos? I thought about it, but I keep our cooking videos pretty few and far between. I don't do anything properly. And I don't think I'm mentally geared up for all of the
comments you would get.
Yeah. You're going to give your family botulism or, you're going to, or whatever. You're going to, I don't know. And most of the time when I'm doing a cooking video, I have to run in and paint my nails really quick because I've got permadirt under my fingernails. I don't worry about. My family's really healthy probably because of it. But I scrub my fingernails as much as they can handle it without going raw. It's pretty clean right now. But yeah, I don't know. There's just so many different methods and different opinions, and maybe one of these days I'll do more of that. Also, I'm just now feeling like I'm maybe interested in doing it again. I burned myself out canning because one year I canned everything I could get my hands on, and I just realized, and I'm also realizing what I'm planting out in the garden, what we do and don't eat, what's worth the space and the time of planting. I just canned so much. It takes a tremendous amount of time, a lot of supplies, which I still have. I mean, they're all reusable, which is nice, except for the little lids, and you can get new ones for pretty inexpensive. Once your setup is good on most everything, you're good to go, with grow lights and all of that as well. I don't know where and then the mess it creates everywhere.
You almost need a canning station.
Outside, somewhere where you can just kick all the peels off and not worry about it. Cause I don't like to have chaos in the house. I like things to be picked up. It's part of my procedure every single night, or part of my routine. After the kids are down, I go through and I pick up most everything. They do a pretty good job keeping, Benjamin helps out whenever, he's got stuff out. But there's just, the day's worth of stuff, either for myself or you or the kids or whoever. And I just go through and tidy up. It's not clean and, all the corners aren't wiped down all the time. But I just don't like clutter out. And I feel like canning is just such a process. Oh, so I have to be committed and know I can get it done in that day so that I can have the house cleaned by later that night. Does that seem crazy?
No.
Terry said, tell us how you set up your root cellar. Where is it located and how is it temperature controlled? So it's in our barn. It's in the bay right behind us right here. And we had a little wood cubby storage shelf. It was just kind of open, but there was one barrier divider wall in there, and it was just used to pile scrap pieces of wood. It was a mess when we first moved in, and then we created it more of a mess in there because we had then added our scrap wood in there. And we just thought, you know what, this is not a huge space, but it would be so handy to have an area to store all this produce that we're growing, because it seems a shame to grow it all. And I mean, it's awesome to give as much as you can away, but when you grow it all, give it away, and then have to go buy it at the grocery store later, that doesn't seem like the best approach. So we thought, what if we actually had this built, like, closed in and insulated properly, so like the ceiling and the walls are all insulated. It's a special kind of insulation, a specific grade. I don't know.
Really high R value.
Yeah. There's a fan system in there, and then there's a air conditioning unit, and it's a CoolBot system. That
the way it works is that air conditioners can only cool down to 60 something. But you can buy CoolBot, which like tricks the machine into cooling it even farther. And it doesn't have to work very hard, because it's like a, what do you call it? Like a, where do you keep when you go on vacation and you put yeah, that's like a cooler. So once it gets to that temperature, it's so insulated that it doesn't have to work very hard, but you do have to trick the thing to cool it down to a certain temperature and to stay at that temperature.
I think I can go down to 32. I think I can go right above. I keep it at about, it's usually between 42 and 45. It feels glorious. Like on days where it's hot, you can just stand in there. Not easily right now because of all the status on the floor in there.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't take a lot of energy to keep it that way, as long as you've built it correctly.
Right. And there is an app. I haven't even messed around with it. I just kind of set it where I need it to be.
It's
and
not
there's really no reason.
With.
The only thing that would be handy is if something malfunctioned. If I had it set up to where it's kind of like the greenhouse, we'd get heat alarms all the time this spring when it got a little bit warmer out, and we'd get, if it got to 90 or something like that, it would give us a heat warning. Because
really, all you need, I mean, you can buy like a Bluetooth
like thermometer
sensor that will send you a text or something like that.
Because that would be handy, because you don't want to wreck any of your food storage.
Yeah, we need one of those for our freezer too, because one time our freezer went out.
The door got jammed or something. It didn't close all the way. Yeah, that was a mess. Last question from Lori about the onions. What if it rains while they're on the table to dry? Do you have to begin again? Yeah, you want to be putting your onions, laying them out to dry somewhere that's protected. And like Erin said, we hardly ever get rain, so I know I was safe. Like, I could look at our 10-day, and it's just like sun and hot for the next 10 days. It looks like it's going to hover right about 100, just like 1 degree lower or maybe 1 degree over for the next 10 days. I hope that, I always feel like, because we're going to the Grand Garden Show in less than 2 weeks, and I'm kind of hoping by the time we're home from that, because it'll be so cool on Mackinac and wonderful, and then we'll get home and hopefully, like, it'll have eased off just a skosh. That would be so, so nice. But anyway, yeah, you want to lay them out somewhere where you don't get a lot of rain, which typically, like, I've laid them out in this room before it was the studio. It used to just be, unfinished barn. And it's perfect. It keeps them out of the direct sun, out of any kind of moisture. They can dry for a few days, and then, so just don't probably put them somewhere where they're going to get excess amount of moisture. And that's it, you guys, for this week's recap video. Congratulations again to all 10 of you bulb winners out there. I'm really excited for you. It's such a fun thing to do. I mean, it's not fun to plant bulbs. Fun to have them bloom in the spring.
100 is a really manageable amount to plant, though.
Yeah, I mean, because you could even do those in containers. You don't even have to do, I mean, that'd be 4 containers of 25. Like, that would be gorgeous next to a porch.
Yeah.
And you could put them in plastic pots and grow them that way, and then just slip them down into your decorative pots. What a fun thing. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great week. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.